That's pretty scary. If you ask me, that's pretty scary. Hi, my good friends. It's cold. It's cold, and I got the heater on, and it stinks. This heater probably hasn't been on in years. Cold, cold, cold. And it's only in the, it was supposed to have been 45 or 44 last night. I don't know. But for us, that is like 0 up north. Ooh. Oh. How's everyone doing? Anyone ever read the children's book and get this for the kids? Incredible. Super incredible. I'm thinking about, before Christmas, doing a YouTube-a-thon. We can sit in here and just strap me down. I'll sit here all day long and try to get everybody as much as I can, because there's just so many hurting people out there. I feel for you guys so bad. My heart just was... But we're going to get everybody we can. Anybody that wants help. A lot of you guys are working with people all around the world. I'm so impressed. It's like, wow. And some of the cases that's coming back, pretty good. And I know some of you are in situations you wake up to that scary. Life, death, that sort of thing. Remember a couple of things, though. In spirituality, it is as simple as health. And it's so simple that the mind just cannot wrap its teeth around it. But it is supposed to be. Simplicity is what sets you free. So, and remember who's driving your car, supposed to be. So if you don't like your life or like whatever, change it. Do whatever you want to do, change it. Might be scary, embarking on a new adventure, that sort of thing, but you're already alone on a big adventure, aren't you? Each and every one of you are alone on your own journeys. What is that journey? Are you happy with it? Is it taking you where you want it to go? You can't depend upon outside sources to take you down the road to in creation. You're the driver. And remember cause and effect. Things that come to you is what you put out. Sometimes you don't see it immediately, that what you're experiencing you created way back when. Either in thought, in emotion, or in the physical realm. So, when you find yourself in scary places, though, one of the first things that's vital to understand is you've got to change your diet. You just got to change your diet. And when you understand the lymphatic system more and more, and boy is it coming out medically more and more as far as I can see, because this is their answer that they've been looking for. Interestingly, it should change the concept of diseases. I doubt it. It's too lucrative of a business. And it puts the only people that can help you in their hands. And I'm here to tell you, you can help yourselves. Get yourselves well. But it can be a long and bumpy road sometimes, because you have miles of pathways of acids that have built up through the years. Even started when you were in your mother. Your physical body was in your mother. And now you've got to hydrate that, you have to ionize that, you have to bring alkaline dominant chemistry into the body so that can take place. So whether you want to argue whether man is this or that or whatever, fruits, berries, and melons are at the top. And we've demonstrated that for 50 years. That you can get well, very well, on this top level of foods. Because outside of chemistry, the only thing you have to help you is energy. And that energy has to come from a very high place. You can help that energy through, there was a lot of things through the years, from silver mind control to biofeedback to all kinds of things came out. It's enough to say, grab a hold of your awareness. But think about this, we as humans, we tend to look to as opposed to from. So change your point of view. Realize, I've said this in class and I've said this in other videos, quit playing the game of being humans. Humans are just physical bodies with a label on them. Wake up to your divinity, your spirituality, who you are. And it's hard to wake up with the mind. You cannot find the answers through the mind. The mind is like a computer. It'll just keep on going, and it'll keep being fed and then kick out the information. I mean, you'll never find truth through thought. And you remember the old saying that you are the living truth. Each and every one of you are the living truth. So you have to look no further, but how do you look? How do you to see that? And we've had many videos where I've talked to you about the ability to observe as opposed to thinking. And when you move that, it's easy, simple, sounds simple, just quit thinking. Sounds simple, I just quit thinking. A lot of people think that when you quit thinking, you go unaware. No, it's the opposite. When you quit thinking, you become more aware. That's the secret. And you break that secret, and you found your way back to the heavens, my dear ones. So, when you're faced with some tough things, you connect to those higher energies, and you move spirit, prana, the life force, whichever name you wish to give that, through you, more and more and more, and let it heal you. Hook yourself up to crystals, hook yourself up to flowers, hook yourself up to love, someone that cares for you. If you're in a situation where it's stressful and you've got been diagnosed with cancer cells and tumors and things like that, then you might have to get out. You might have to change your perspective, your living quarters. If you put it out there to the universe, there's a lot of beings that are here to help. So don't think you're lost and there's no help. But I will say this, and I don't want to step on any toes, but at the same time, every individual should keep their individuality. The social consciousness is a negative consciousness. And it takes away one's freedoms. So even when you get married, the woman gives up her name. The woman gives up her money a lot of times. You know, a lot of relationships, the man goes, "Here's the money, honey, take care of it." But in a lot of male-dominant relationships, the woman has no source to get out, get away. There's safe houses around, of course, but and an older woman come in here claiming her husband beats her, throws her down. Of course, the husband was there, and I brought her in and talked with her, and she'd been coming in for years, and she'd had the cops out many times, and they don't see any bruise or anything, and so they're not doing anything with it. And so I'm kind of getting, and I give her a list of safe houses that we have around town and stuff, and said there's Baker acting, but you got to be a medical doctor, I think, to do that. And then some of us realize that maybe the problem isn't with him. So, it's difficult. And one of the things she was telling me is that she can't do anything. She has no money, no car, no nothing. He controls everything. And I've seen this a lot. You don't want anybody controlling your world as much as you can help that. You want to be your individual self and be who you are, and those around you accept who you are, because if they don't accept who you are, because each and every one of you are the beautiful beings that you are. And there's always someone that will love your individuality for what it is. You just have to put it out there. But be careful about seeking fulfillment through others. That will only chain and lock you to this universe and to the physical worlds. And remember, the meek shall inherit the earth. If you only knew the beauty of the heavens, you would understand the full scope of that one. As beautiful as earth is, it has nothing, a flicker, compared to what's in the astral worlds. And that's nothing compared to as you move closer to consciousness. I mean, it's just massive and outstandingly beautiful. And, there's no words for that. But you want to become strong in yourselves. This is the time, if you haven't noticed on this planet, things are very negative. It's a time to strengthen the self. Get away from ideas and opinions and the mind. Man has promoted the mind so much and has left his spirituality behind. And it's important that we bring that spirituality up. But spirituality simply means a more awakened being, one that chooses to awaken instead of playing all the games of thought and emotions and desire. This is exactly what Jesus, Buddha, all the spiritual giants taught the same thing, guys. Zoroaster. Of course, some of these beings were more warrior beings, and you don't find the spirituality coming so much through that, because they were more warriors. That's just the way life is here, man. And one has to look to the only source that you have to find the truth, and that is to yourself. If you look to outside sources, man's emotions and thoughts are controlled a lot by religions, even some spiritual teachings, are very controlling in that way. You don't want anything to control you. You want to be a free agent because you are just that. You're an individualized expression of the divine. And what you're experiencing and who you are is what the divine is experiencing. Remember, omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient. Know what those three things mean. Know what the word all means. Nothing outside of it. Nothing but it. But when you find yourself in tough places, hooked to that high spiritual energy source, you find that in your fruits as number one and berries. Those are the two highest forms, in my opinion, expression of the divine in terms of energetics and chemistry suited for the frugivore. Now, other animals love fruits big time, stuff like that. So, cross many species, and particularly the omnivores, of course. There was a big thing when they first doing these videos about dogs and grapes kills dogs. I don't know, a lot of dogs are on grapes. Some of this stuff is amazing. But it's enough to say that it's difficult to detox and to get healthy on vegetables in terms of the human. Dogs, with the help of the botanicals, Paul Twitchell wrote a book, The Herbs of Magic Healers. And that's just what they are. They're magic. Holy crap. They'll do things that nothing else will. They're powerful. They're unique. Their consciousness is set to help. So it's amazing. One should never, ever be afraid of using botanicals on babies or yourself. Ever. That's what we have as our tools, not pharmaceuticals. Although, I'll have to say that the need of pharmaceuticals in today's world is there. Painkillers, if you ever been in extreme pain, that's nice. So there are some nice pharmaceuticals that's out there. But, that's a bite of the tongue, but you have to look where man brought itself. He brought himself to the point where he needs surgeons all over the place, emergency rooms, things like this. So, we've got what we need, supposedly. But if you find yourself in a tough situation, know that your number one focus, always your number one focus, is going to be the system that is causing all these problems. Now, the reason the system is causing all these problems, obviously, is the lifestyle, your diet, your chemistry, your interaction with chemistry and magnetics, energy. Now remember, it starts with mama. But chemistry is chemistry, and through these videos I hope that you've learned the two sides of chemistry. There's only two, because it's so simple that you guys get it. When I meet all of you beautiful souls in class, it's like seeing light bulbs that are coming open, and your awareness and the ability to know the simplicity of healing. Some of you are working with so many people already that your practices are super busy. I've said we can give the world a lot of new occupations, and one of them would be true healers. That was the name of my first book I put out, was True Healing. Get away from these theories and the folk medicine of the past, where you got to take a little whiskey for that arthritis thing, or a little WD-40 on the joints, that'll help you. That was funny too. When that came out, the National Choir had WD-40 for arthritis. So this lady, she was a client of mine, this family, her husband sprayed her fingers with WD-40, right? Yeah. She said, spray him again. Shh. Oh, hey, it does work. It's cool. It works. The next morning, she woke up with a mouth full of WD-40. Whew. I mean, when you're in pain, I get it. When you're in pain, you'll do anything. Remember, pain predominantly is an acidic event. So if you're in pain, the first thing that makes sense, just like if you have acid reflux, the first thing that makes sense is to realize it's an acid problem. And that to have remedy to that, you have to walk to the other side of the road, to the alkaline side of chemistry. You can't use the same side of chemistry, medical doctors. You're killing people doing it. It's idiocy at its worst. But it's obviously, you have to walk to the other side of chemistry to get well. Remember I told you about the chemist that thought he had alkalosis. Until he was sweating one day real bad in my office and I had him pH himself and he goes, oh, yeah. I said, you guys got it wrong. How you ever thought that a body would be more inclined to become alkalitic as opposed to acidic, I can't even imagine that. Since most of all your cycles, what's the spinoff? Get your Krebs cycle and look at all your cycles, methylation cycles. Look at the chemistry spinoffs. Now here's one for you, vitamin C. Now we use vitamin C, but what's the real name? Ascorbic what? Acids. They're acids. And anytime you're involved in the lifestyles of humans, you have been eating acid-forming foods. And so to think that you're alkaline, I don't know where the chemistry of this world went when they think that. And this guy was a full-bore chemist. And it was like, man, you were taught wrong or something, bro. And I got him well, alkalizing him. And he woke up. So that's the sort of thing that when you're in pain. Now, it ain't easy to get into the body and relieve pain like that because you have miles of pathways. And what's the big kicker on top of that? Your eliminative organs. You've got to focus on the eliminative organs. It's funny we have to do that because that's the end process, right? Is elimination. That's the end process of this gigantic food processing machine that we have here. Is proper elimination, not just of digestive waste and byproducts, but metabolitic waste and byproducts. Byproducts of activity, respiration, increasing of respiratory chemistry. Also the movement of muscle, the increase of lactic acid. All these things like this comes back to the acid side of chemistry. And there's only one remedy that's even conscionable. That even is rational, and that's even to a rational mind. You got to get on the alkaline side of chemistry. Why? Hydration. Acids dehydrate, dry you up, and burn you. Oh, I feel burning. And how many times have I had clients say, I feel burning all through me? Yeah, and it's true. You are burning all through. You feel just what's going on there. Where a medical doctor can explain it or not, you feel the truth. You just need someone to understand what it is, But these wastes and byproducts of the cells are acids. And the activity of muscles, these are acids. Question, the universal question. We know how you remove metabolitic waste. Medical doctors haven't got there yet. We have. So we know how you remove metabolitic waste. Are you? And that is through the eliminative organs for the lymphatic system, skin and kidneys. Or you notice you'll drain through your nose, out your mouth, in your ears, through your belly button, vaginally, mucus and stuff like this. Your body will ooze out anywhere it can. Look at decubitus and bed sores and how they ooze. Because that's what they are, a cesspool of acids. And you want it to heal overnight? And without removing the acids, you just put crap on it? That's the problem with hospitals and the medical community. Yes, we can have surgeons that are incredible and do, but we have to have everything else that follows with that. How do you regenerate after surgery? Those type of questions. But realize that acid side is where everybody's at. If you believe you're on the alkaline side, fine, you're on the wrong side. Because we teach acidosis here, and we get remedy by looking at that and going after that problem. So the first order of business, when you find yourself with any problem or a friend with any problem, I don't care if it's just simple ovarian cysts, uterine fibroids, fibrocystic breast, I don't care if it's fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme's, into the more chronic levels of acidosis like that, even in your chronic arthritises. Any one of them, pick them, it doesn't matter. RA, it isn't osteo, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. You're still resting the pillar of symptomology on two sides of chemistry. Not some bizarre, I don't know, disease that flew in from where? Moose Jaw, Alaska? Your two pillars of chemistry is what all man's suffering or wellness rests on. You got to learn that. And man has been polarized to this acid, ash, acid-forming foods, meats and beans and grains and those sort of complex foods. You complex a food, you acidify it predominantly. So your only alkaline dominant foods are going to be your fruits, your berries, your melons, your vegetables. As you complex chemistry. So what happens when you get to your nuts? You complex chemistry and it becomes acidic, acid forming. I would say of the nuts, you're probably going to find your better ones in the pine and pignolia nuts because they're more oil-based. That would be in line with mother's milk a little more. Oils are much higher than proteins in mother's milk. So, when you find yourself in trouble, these are the things you have to do. You have to change your diet immediately. Doesn't mean you have to become a fruitarian, but it means you have to get into the raw food, food unfired. And that reminds me, I want to talk about bodybuilders and raw foods here. Let me make a note on that, because this one radio guy keep asking me about that, and I want to address that because sometimes one gets so acidic that you can't even eat or drink water or eat anything. So sometimes when you get in these stages, you have to use liquid herbs by the spoonful, especially with gastroparesis, where you have paralysis and everything goes up, chucked up. You know, you want to stop. We have to get this message out because so many people are in these corners and they can't get out because no one's there to help them to get out. You got the answers. Now you have to put your hands out and say, hey, can we help you? We can help you. The people have to be willing, though. There's so many people just scared of change, scared of something new, and I find that interesting. They'll go to 10 medical doctors getting the same answers, same runaround, same crap, no causative understanding or nothing, and they'll keep going to them. Duh. Break the chains of your mind. And you'll start, oh, there's other people that do other things. You know, they've grabbed your attention. And that's all it is your attention. The medical community, of course, Rockefellers, you know, have their expertise, grab your attention and make you think that their research is for the betterment of humanity, that these cancers and everybody's dying. You have to understand that most people are dying on this planet from these things or from the treatment of them, from the medical community themselves. You might find that shocking. It's amazing. We have taken on the most negative healing practices ever created on this planet. The whole consciousness of vaccines, the idiocy, the millions of people into ADD, ADHD, seizures, because you gotta have what? No understanding of health, and you gotta have it. Because it's all about what's going on inside of you. What's your chemistry? What's your terrain look like? Are you full of mucus and acids? Then expect bacteria to come in here, because bacteria is there to help clean your system, not to hurt you. When you're in pain, it isn't bacteria that's causing pain, guys. It's the acids. So they're just, and bacteria, if you research that, are about metals, acids. What's the fungus community for? Carbons, sugars. So when you find yourself in trouble, you've got to immediately shift the type of chemistry you're interfacing with. Get rid of the perfumes, the colognes, get rid of the, I shave with just, once you take a shower and nice soap, Bronner's or whatever, you don't need to use shaving cream. I just shave right up, be a man. Ugh. We have all this chemistry we use on our bodies, and a lot of it's just toxic as heck. Well, add that chemistry into a system that can't get rid of it. As a rule, you would bring in toxins, the body will neutralize or get rid of them. But when your lymphatic system, your immune system, the system that cleans you, is not filtering properly through the skin or kidneys, everybody stays at home that you bring in. And that's when you really get a lot of damage going on there. So the name of the game is hydration and also astringing. When you dehydrate and dry up these areas and get agglomerated, everything becomes hardened. So you have to hydrate, which brings in, of course, this is why you see edema coming into these areas, to try to keep things pliable and loosened. So all of this is a process of trying to hydrate and get things loosened up and get the body filtering it out of itself. That's why we talk about kidney filtration. Vital to filter from the kidneys. And again, 100% opposite of the AMA. The AMA says if your urine is not clear, you have an infection. What? So if acids are infectious, but they're killing bacteria, criminal? You know why? Because when you kill the bacteria in the lymph nodes, you just set that client up for a lifetime of hell and probably death from tumors that they can't get rid of because you've destroyed the bacteria in the lymph nodes. It's you have to understand how nature works and the importance of microbes in nature. And man attacks that. Of course, that's why you have Morse and some of the bigger boys that go, well, you can't kill God. So, we just have to understand that if your body becomes full of mucus from mucus-forming foods, notice certain foods are mucus-forming, and mostly the complex chemistry foods are mucus-forming. In other words, the mucosa of your body, lining of the sinuses, lining of the lungs, lining of the gastrointestinal, lining everywhere, produces mucus as an immune response, as a protective device, a lipid response, a cholesterol response. Does that help you understand why all these cholesterol problems are simply problems of acidosis? You can just go check off all these problems man has, and you put 99.9999% on the acid side of chemistry, guys. Man doesn't eat the alkaline side of chemistry. You have to have a hormonal imbalance to start pushing yourself through to alkalosis. Because man doesn't consume that kind of chemistry. It has to be more of a hormonal or steroidal imbalance to trip you into that sort of thing, I would think. So all this stuff has to come out. Tumors, cysts, boils, all this stuff is just a reflection of the types of foods and chemistry that people are interfacing with. Change the interfacing of this toxic chemistry that is mucus forming and that damages the tissues, that's inflammatory responsive, and you're walking home again. That's all it is. It's deep. The deeper you are, the longer the walk. No question about it. You always want to think, okay, lymphatic system. So no matter what my problem is, I know that the acid side of chemistry, which is dealt with through the lymphatic system, is involved. And what could you hurt even if it wasn't? But sorry, it always is. So, what would you think would be the first thing you would want to do outside of diet? you would want to find some supplements maybe to help you. All right? So, excuse me, sorry. Supplements. All right. Now, we can go into a plant and isolate its chemistry, potentize that chemistry and give it back to you. You know, these active principles, but wait a minute, that's pharmaceutical thinking. Which is next door to vitamin and mineral thinking, to tell you the truth. Because when you start isolating chemistry and taking it, then you start interfering with the family of chemistry. Remember, we talked a lot about this. Chemistry is in a family unit. pHs are specific, and also ratios of chemistry are specific. Cow to mag, cow to phosphorus, cow to iron, cow to all these ratios. Think about trying to figure that one out as the supreme one. You know, all these ratios and pHs. I've said life is nothing but pH in the physical world. At one pH you can have something happen, another pH something else happens. At one pH you can rebuild things, and another pH rip them apart. And pH is simply the potential of hydrogen. The more hydrogen is involved, the more ripping you will get. Hydrogen is a universal acid, the universal element that's predominantly everything. Water, H2O. Well, since hydrogen is acidic, you have 2 atoms of acids to 1 of oxygen. So you've got 2 to 1. So water's acidic. That sort of thing. But it's not a hot acid. But it's enough of an acid to be called the universal solvent. So even these minor acids like water and estrogen, things like this, have beneficial effects on the human body. Medical doctors will be first jump and blame estrogen. Now, I have to laugh at this one. They want to blame estrogen for a woman's problem, especially if they're estrogen receptors or blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh, please. So estrogen is a low acid, right? So we know that if you're estrogen dominant, on top of lymphatic stagnation, of course you're going to see a feeding of that somewhat. But these are minor acids, and they have beneficial effects on the body. And you see what happens when you don't. When your estrogen is for a woman, here's a good example, and this is another side of alkalosis, is that if your estrogen levels are low, you get vaginal dryness. So you can see that estrogen is just enough acidically to stimulate the mucosa enough to keep moisture. I mean, everything is figured out in all these ways. Amazing stuff. So, first thing you want to know, supplements. What can I do to take supplements that can help me, but I'm not messing with chemistry doing it? I'm not unbalancing chemistry. Add this chemistry specific to the things that I need in the body. Enter the botanical world. The botanical world. You know, I think that China, of course, has such a long recorded history of this, but also has a history of some whacked out herbology. I mean, bears' gallbladders, lion paws, you know, stuff like this didn't go a long way at promoting herbology, because that is not herbology. A bear's gallbladder has nothing to do with herbs. But they, you know, there's a lot of stuff used in traditional Chinese medicine. Doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be. We all, even India, we all can get on the same page here and realize your diet, your ingestion of chemistry is uno number 1. You got to change it. You can't sit there and have the same lifestyle and want to get well and healthy and take a few supplements. And not to call herbs supplements, but you are supplementing them to your dietary habits. Let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. Hippocratean thinking. But the beauty of these botanicals, holy crap. So the first thing you're thinking about is, all right, I know that I have an acid problem. I have an inflammatory problem. Acid, protein, right? All right, so the first thing I've done, I've changed my diet. All right, oh look, I'm feeling better already. Now, I want to go after the system that's causing this problem. I'm learning about the lymphatic system. Our group is the number 1 group learning about the lymphatic system out there. So I know that I need to address that. That's number 1. I need to address my lymphatic system, number 1. Or what am I doing? I'm going to work on my colon. I work on my colon. Well, what about the system that's causing the problems? I could work on my lungs and respiratory. What about the system that's causing the problems? So you always, can I underline always?
Yes, straight.
Yep. Use kidney formulas. Always. Always. You never want to do a lymphatic formula without a kidney formula. You always do the the kidney formula. What's sitting on top of the kidneys? What's controlling the kidneys? Who's the gland on the organ? The adrenals. You always go after the adrenal glands. Always. And I'll say this, in every condition that exists on this planet, you always go after the kidney and adrenals. Did I say always? Always. Right? All right. Now, kidneys, adrenals, you got that covered. You're going after kidneys, adrenals. Those are the eliminated organs. Well, wait a minute, you've got where's your third kidney? The skin. You got to address the skin. Well, what affects skin? When it's cold out, do you sweat very well? No. So you need a little body temperature, right? Who's the job? Who's the guy? Thyroids. So you want to make sure your thyroids are giving you basal temperatures of about 98. You want to sweat. You want to open up the eliminative organs. The eliminative organs of the lymphatic system are the 3 kidneys. 2 kidneys and 1 skin. Always. Always. Now, so we're talking about adrenals, and now we're talking about thyroids. So, this is involved in a whole system called the endocrine gland system, where the pituitary is the main squeeze. And we've talked a lot about it. But you always go after the endocrine gland system. Always, because they control literally everything. So you're always going after your glands. Herbs, diet. Herbs, diet. Now, we can use glandulars. We've talked about them. And I do use them. Short term. But these are the systems. Now what would be, now we can go back to the colon, and we always work on the colon. Wait a minute, we're always working on these things. Yes. We're always working on kidneys. We're always working on the endocrine gland. We're always working on the GI tract. You focus on those aspects and you'll clean yourself up. Now the neat thing here is the herbs for the liver. The barberous family, burdock, yellow dock, Oregon grapefruit. These are some of the finest herbs on the planet. They are excellent for the skin, particularly Oregon grapefruit. Well, the skin also has a lymphatic system, right? So we are always realizing that no matter where we're looking, what organs, what glands, pituitaries, thyroids, kidneys, hearts, livers, we're talking about the lymphatic system within these structures. Each structure of cells has a blood and lymphatic system that feeds and cleans them. Man has to get with that in the 21st century. Holy crap. So these are some of the things you always want to do. Get those bowels cleaned up. Get the lymphatic system and the kidneys and the endocrine glands. These are all must-do things. For me, on top of that, is brain and nerve, the nervous systems. Now, when you're addressing your adrenal glands, you are addressing the autonomic. That's the neurotransmitter portion. And that's where you want to get those neurotransmitters up. If you have high blood pressure, that's a kidney problem. Fix the kidneys, your blood pressure will come down nicely and probably go a little low. I've never seen high blood pressure that really wasn't low blood pressure first. And that's kidney problems. So we're back to the doorway of the gigantic lymphatic system. And it is vital that man understands this system, or there's no getting well. And I'm not saying that everything is easy, but it's doable. For some of you, it is easy. Some of you have just knocked things out like especially you strong gene people. Holy crap. You're knocking these things out. It's like, you got what? You had leukemia and it's gone what? Well, that day I read the producer, she got rid of her leukemia. We're going to call it leukemia because that's what they call it. So somehow they diagnosed this lady with leukemia and some guy, I don't know, overseas somewhere, and the same day I'm reading him, and he got rid of his in 8 weeks, and hers was gone in 8 weeks, and it's like, I don't know. You know, when you understand what breaks down tissue, when you understand the acid side of chemistry, it doesn't make it like it's voodoo. You understand what's going on here. There's no mystery to things. Science, just because science might be a little harebrained, you got to remember who's the scientist. You know, science is one thing, but who's the scientist and where are their consciousness at? Take a look at where humans are. So these are some of the things. Where's my clock? I've had a lot of people in here doing all kinds of videos. But be easy on yourself too. A lot of you have been through a lot of doctors. A lot of you have been through a lot of hell. A lot of sorrow, trying to find answers to your pain. Your loved ones have left you. Some of you, your loved ones have left. They couldn't stand it. These are sad things to me, brother. Whew. But everything is karmatic driven, remember that. So turn it around, start turning it around for yourself. Get strong within the self, because that's all you have is yourself. Start taking care of the physical body. The physical body is not you. Stop it. Quit being humans. But that's your car while you're here. You were given a car while you were here. And who's driving it? That car comes with a lot of parts to it. That car comes with a lot of other parts that's not seen to it. That car has an emotional component that's helped driving it, and that car also has a mind that's helped driving it, and you're watching it all. So shift from your position of looking. Your point of view is too involved in the drama. Pull it back to the viewer. Well, that's a state of observation, not a state of thought. And you have won that game too. But we're going to keep working on yourself. Don't get frustrated. I wanted to address this this gentleman. He has a radio show. He interviewed me, and he's really hot into this, and he wants to prove that raw foods will build muscles. Because what they've seen, that people that have been on raw foods, they tend to lose weight. And I want to address that for several ways and reasons. When you look at a normal human being, first of all, you're looking at a person that's predominantly acidic and someone that has a lot of edema in them. If I pulled the edema out of a bodybuilder, you wouldn't see the same look. Because acids create edema. This is why they get so stiff. So that's part of the problems, is that we have edemic filling, water filling spaces. We have artificial muscles filling spaces, because you're trying to build something that has no lasting power to it. You're trying to feed and maintain something that, and I get the whole science. I get how people think, and they're looking at building the muscles. I get that. The problem was you go on to a raw alkaline diet, it starts hydration. In other words, out goes the edema, so you're going to start shrinking a little from that. You're going to see, and it's not muscle loss, you will have muscle loss, especially if you built muscles with secondhand proteins. You're going to see those go by because they're inferior muscles, whether you realize it or not. And your body will rebuild muscles a different way. I just say that man is so involved genetically and lymphatically that, it's going to take a while for a raw foodist to turn this around to where he starts becoming a bodybuilder again. I look at the primate family as an example of a fruitarian lifestyle predominantly. Now, that's predominantly the orangutans, unfortunately, because it depends where your environment is. Some of these mountain gorillas didn't start out mountain gorillas, right? So they're put up into these areas because the low-lying areas are being used for cattle and stuff like that. I mean, look what's going on in some of these countries. Some of these groups are trying to stop that because they're burning the rainforest down. How many acres of rainforest are destroyed every day because of farming and stuff? It's thousands and thousands of acres of rainforest are being destroyed every day because of this. What, to eat meat? Ah. I mean, it's sickening. You're going to destroy a forest, put it back with fruit trees. But they don't get it. People don't get it. And when you're in poverty and you need money and you can't afford to feed the people, you're going to do things like that. You don't care about nature. You don't care about those elephant ivory tusks. Need the money. Sad stuff, ain't it? But remember, this is a movie you're watching. And who's watching it and what's the movie trying to teach you? Right? Love, compassion, humility for all of life. But I can see where it'd be a while for a bodybuilder that went raw. But I'd be pumping the alfalfas, the greens, I've said this many times before, and maybe try not to detoxify too much or get your detoxification over with and then start building up with that. But if you take a wild stallion, they're pretty muscular. And what's their diet? But you're not talking about genetic strands of weaknesses. Look at the human genetically. You got to understand, man, humans are so much inferior to the other animals on the planet, genetically speaking. And so we've wrecked our bodies. So you're trying to build real nice, muscular-looking guys and gals out of genetically weak and heavy, acidic, lymphatic bodies. And you just, excuse me, please, sorry. It's just going to take a while for us to turn the human condition. I've said this before. It's going to take a while to get out cooked foods because there's nothing that will build you better by cooked foods than its counterpart raw. That's idiocy thinking. But it is inflammatory and edemic because most of these things are acid forming. But that's not what you put on muscles for, is cooked vegetables. You put muscles on with proteins. So the argument should be over proteins, not cooked foods. Because there's nothing healthy about cooking your food. I've had a lot of conversations with macrobiotics, especially some of your top guys. They don't look good. They don't have that vibrancy of the raw and the living. Their skins are ash gray. And where's your vibrancy? Because you're not eating it. You know, there's other laws involved here besides chemistry. Physics. And these two sciences have to interface with each other. Because they're trying, science is simply a viewed modality of what exists. Not trying to dictate what they want you to think and know. It is a science of observation, supposedly. But you find that more in universities, I think, than, of course, obviously in pharmaceutical worlds. These guys have another agenda going. So I can only say that hang in there, because you can build your body back. Look at Ian. He got pretty skinny, but he's building himself back. I'll say this, when I look at the mountain gorillas, they're on vegetables. They're a little bit, I think, more muscular than the orangutans. Orangutans are almost exclusively frugivores, unless they're captive and the trainers are giving them vegetables for some stupid reason. But don't be fooled by smaller muscles. Don't ever be fooled by smaller muscles. A baby orangutan can rip a human apart. So don't be fooled. There's power beyond size. And I've said that to you, a lot of you bodybuilders. Feel the power of the raw, baby. Feel the power of the raw. You know, maybe that science needs to change a little bit, and we need to look at, because the harm that it's doing all these beautiful people. The acids will rip you apart. And talk to some of the retired bodybuilders whose joints are out here, who have had multiple surgeries and stuff. I've got one that's a friend of mine here. I forget how big, but he had major, I mean, he's on magazines that have major arms. Came in to see me years ago, about 20 years ago, I guess. And elbow and his wrists are huge, and I'm going, oh man. He said, look at my picture of where I used to look. I said, yeah, I know. Feel sorry for you now. Because a lot of work. And you're trained yourself to eat protein, so you have to retrain yourself now to understand proper eating and health. So it's a big deal, and sometimes it's hard. When you get into more chronic levels of acidosis, let me tell you, there's nothing fun about rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme. There's nothing happy about these things. Being in pain constantly, there's nothing happy about that. But being in pain constantly is being acidic constantly. And then no one tells you to quit eating it, and you keep eating it. So you keep feeding your pain. Can't do that. You have to go back to alkaline-forming foods. You've got to go back to hydrating. You've got to get on the other side of chemistry, which is anti-inflammatory, anti-pain, all of those things. That's the alkaline side. I'm not saying that everybody eats all alkaline. There's nothing all alkaline that I know of. Alkaline-dominant foods, which is electrolyte-dominant foods. That's what you want anyway. And when you fire your foods, what happens to your electrolytes, by the way? You know, you talk about eating cooked foods. What happens to your foods when you cook them that makes them better? Your chemistry breaks the bonds and rebonds. Uh-oh. Lipids bond. Uh-oh. So now you have chemical ratios destroyed and rebonded. So now you have more of an acidic food because ionization, you've destroyed the electrolytes or you've rebonded them. So now you've destroyed the electromagnetic energy of the food, and now you again have a food that's more acidic or more down toward that road, and the energy's been pulled out of it. So now you have basically a dead carcass that you're looking to get healthy on, whether it's plant, animal, or whatever. Can't get healthy on dead carcasses. So when you're in trouble, you have to do these things. When you're a bodybuilder, and I just have to say that, you have to weigh your future. And maybe enter bodybuilding with another point of view. And get on a high, we've got a muscle building formula I made for Mr. Olympia and Anton's people. A lot of alfalfa, a lot of muscle building power. Royal jelly got a lot of muscle building power there too. So if you mix royal jelly and alfalfa, my God, you got a lot. But the problem is your ability to digest. You got to look at all of these things in a healthy body. You can't just say, I'm just going to pack on muscles and look good. This is an artificial level of thinking. You want to look at your health involvement with this as well. You want to fix. Those of you that are very skinny, you want to fix that. Skinny isn't a sign of raw food. Skinny is a sign of malabsorption. And part of the problem is when you go on the raw foods, most people are malabsorbed. So, this is why you're packing the body with high proteins to try to build muscles on there. Of course, that makes edemic and you swell. Look that way too. No. Wrong way. Wrong way. And that way leads you, it takes your body down to hellville. And sometimes hard to get back out of that. Especially if you've been years and years and years of doing it. You've got to take a few years getting back. And you just have to pull yourself back there. But maybe it's time that we educate the public on things that are healthy to do. And that reflect healthiness. And see what raw bodybuilders can build themselves up to and look like once they fix their problems. But you've got to fix malabsorption. You can't just pack on muscles with malabsorption and expect you to look good, because again, you're going to super acidify yourself. And super edemify yourself, if I can use that word. So I don't know what to say about it. Man has to work himself out of these deep levels of genetic weaknesses and of lymph stagnation, and it's going to be a while. This isn't going to be a snap of the finger, and thank God to you parents that are feeding your babies raw foods. You're the saviors. You lovely mothers and fathers, you're the saviors of the future, because the babies have to we've got to fix them. I've got 19-year-olds constantly coming in the office here. 19-year-olds. 20-year-olds. In trouble. So we have to fix everybody, and we're just the people to do it, aren't we? All right. So let me see where I'm at. I think it's lunchtime. I'd like to come back and do some Q&A here. Got so much going on. But I wanted to do a video a little bit on when you're in trouble, no matter what your diagnosis is. Doesn't matter. You immediately change your diet to a diet that's in harmony with the Homo sapien, which is a fruit and berry and melon diet. Most in harmony. Second in harmony would be the vegetables. But again, huge differences. We can't grind our vegetables. So there's huge differences. You can go to vegetable fruits, like your cucumbers and stuff like that. We've talked a lot about that. And you just work your way back out of that. But you always remember the botanicals. Don't get confused. It's easy. What do you work on first? Your eliminative organs. You don't eliminate, you don't go anywhere, right? Right. So you work on your eliminative organs. Now your kidneys and skin are your eliminative organs of this sewer system that's biting you. Right? So we all know about filtering. A lot of us, and those that are just tuning in, you're really going to learn about filtration of the urine. You know, you want to see this sediment in the bottom of your urine glass. You want to see this sediment. Because if it's clear, you're in trouble. You might have clear urine once in a while. But if you're clear most of the time, you're in trouble. And you can feel it. And as your kidneys start filtering, you can feel the relief from that. But remember, your skin's filter too. Now, your skin does a lot of gases. So you want your skin to be gaseous, so to speak. If you get back and watch the skin, you will see gases emanating from you. You know, and this is just the nature, you know, how things are burnt and released. And so we have to, you know, focus on the elimination. And then the people that control elimination are the endocrine glands. They control everything. So you're always going after the glands. And then, of course, you're always going after the colon. That's the center hub, the embryonic tail, if you will, that in the spinal column. So when you really look at when you're going after these few systems, you're really going after most of the body. The things like the respiratory and things, they'll follow suit. They'll come clean with it. If you need to, you can focus on those with botanicals, of course. But so I'm going to go grab some lunch, and I'd like to come back and really do some Q&A. So we'll see where the afternoon brings. But I'm going to do a YouTube-a-thon. I'm going to try that before Christmas. Sit down here and try to give you 8 hours or six hours maybe of straight YouTube time. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Namaste, and may the blessings be. Get yourself to Wellville. We're waiting for you. Love you guys.